Hey folks, Phil the Bee-Man here. It's Saturday night and I've got a few minutes to spare. I've got some extra queen cells, so I'm sort of retracing my steps here. I'm checking my twin nukes to make sure that the queens that were put in, or the queen cells that were put in earlier, are now laying queens. Marked on the lids, C9, so cell on the 9th of May. It's exactly 20 days ago today. So I'm actually overdue to check these. You can check them as early as 14 days after, depending on weather. Now the weather's been pretty inconsistent here. I've checked a few already. What I'm seeing is they're either already got cap brood or there's nothing going on. And that could be because the young queen hasn't been able to mate, or she didn't hatch successfully. I'm trying to assess that and then remedy it as best I can. So let's have a look and see what we find. So these nukes are nice and strong, pretty much covering. Now it is about, it's a nice warm afternoon. It has been cool weather lately, but they're covering 4 frames. And so I'm pretty happy about that. So here's a cell. I don't think this one hatched. Sometimes you can open them up. Yeah, it has a carcass of a unsuccessful young queen inside. So for whatever reason, that one gave up at the last minute. They seem calm enough, but oh, it looks like maybe we call this a natural. You can see there's just the tip. They've teared most of it down, but the tip of a queen cell that did hatch, it's got a little trap door on the bottom that is open. So it's highly likely that this one has what we call a natural a cell, or a cell raised from a egg that was left in the nuke. But so I think the best thing to do with when there's such obvious signs of a possible queen about to take over is just leave that alone. On this side, very successful. The cell successfully hatched, and fresh larvae in the unit. So that one we're basically now done with for the year. I'm going to put what amounts to essentially a fresh frame. That'll keep this side busy for a while. This one has got a little work to do. That 5th frame in there kind of marks it as complete, but I'm also going to mark on the lid MQ for mated queen, and then this side natural question mark, or N question mark. Two really strong ones. Boy, if these don't have queens, we're going to be in trouble trying to hold them until they do. given the bees' behavior. I mean, it's only an hour or two before sunset here. The fact that they're letting me dig through them with relatively little smoke and no protest tells me that they must have a queen of some sort in there. The cell is too torn down to know anything. Well, what do we do? When in doubt, give it a cell. If there is a young queen in there, she'll tear that apart pretty quick. This side, same. Cell's torn apart. Can't really tell if that ever hatched or not. I like how these bees are keeping this zone here clear. That tells me that there's probably a young queen running around in here, priming. She's rubbing her body on those sites, telling them to prep those areas. A queen that's not laying, too young to lay or not sufficiently mated or whatever's going on here, digging through this too. Oh, there she is. Ah, ha, ha. I was just about to say, it's not worth your time looking for her. There she is right there. I don't know if you can see that. Now I lost track of her. Where'd she go? Oh, there she is. So see how she's really kind of skitterish here, running around. Okay. And just a little bit short in the abdomen. I would say she's mated, but not yet mature enough to lay. And you got to be really gentle handling the bees with those, because they'll, at the slightest provocation, those bees will gang up on her. In fact, I can see she actually has a piece of drone hanging out of her. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not, but that little bit of debris in her abdomen is what's left of the last drone she met. I can pull that off of there. And my guess is she is ready to go. So, but unproven yet. So, just as gently as possible, leave that. So this side is celled on the 29th. It probably has the queen the same age. These are the same, you know, cells put in on the same time. This one has I call it a VQ virgin queen, even though she's no virgin anymore, but she's not yet laying. I suppose we could invent a word for, maybe some fancier people do have a word for a queen that is not laying, not mature enough, but clearly has mated. But I just call them V's until there's eggs. There really should be like egg laying and non-egg laying, or immature, I for immature and E for eggs, but that's neither here nor there. So remember, these twin hives have this piece of masonite, very thin plywood, separating two distinct 5-frame nukes. They do share quite a bit of heat through that frame. This is beautiful. Oh, and there's our queen right there. Quite a dark one. She's got a nice patch of eggs going, so we're going to leave her, lower her down there very gently. This one, no eggs, and there appear to be supersedure cells. That's a sign that they didn't care too much for the cell I put in there. Here's the supersedure cell. The cell I put in got chewed on. This supersedure cell hatched. They must have had some swarm cells or supersedure cells ready to go. But the timing's just a bit off. Queen cell here with nothing but royal jelly inside of it. Again, this big clear patch with polished up cells tells me there's a young queen in here that is ready to go, but maybe needs a day or two more. So I think we're going to call this a natural, because I didn't see her, I'm not going to write on the lid that it's definitively that. So we got our mated queen, fill in the hole. So it's a natural question mark and a mated queen on that side. One last to check on this pallet. This one's a little bit more sensible sized. A little buzzy on this side. Lots of eggs. Beautiful golden queen. I'll bring her in a little closer. Right on the edge of the frame there. Hasn't been laying all that long. Remember I said sometimes you can sell what the cell remnants tell you. Obviously this one got rubbed right down to nothing. It must have been in there way. Yet that's the most queenless sounding one there's been yet. Huh. And here, oh boy, they're right on the edge. I think the cell probably hatched on that one. I think maybe it's this one that's noisy. I'm going to give this one a shot. with our inconsistent spring weather, the queen goes out to mate on just the wrong moment. She can get blown all the way back to Kansas or to the North Pole, depending which way the wind's blowing, and it falls apart on you. So you have to be willing to accept some losses. This blanket's got a hole, so I'm just going to plug that. Don't want those things slipping back and forth between the sides, and I didn't have quite enough blankets with no holes, so I'm plugging it that way. Alright, so this side is a mated queen, and this side is a cell on the 29th. If there is a young queen running around in there, it'll just solve itself that much sooner. But I've given a solution that's going to work. I'm going to now go to another hives that are a little bit later queens. Okay, this set of twins has cells from 2 days later, the 11th. And I can tell just by looking that these were put in by my son. He doesn't like getting his fingers stung putting the cells all the way in. So these are sitting right at the top bars. Looks like that hatched. Looks like, yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. Let's see what we got. So these ones were just slightly more recent that as worked as nukes, that there's still just a little bit of original brood left in them. So it means they were worked maybe, it seems like maybe 3 weeks ago. And I don't see any sign of a queen, but boy, they sure don't act queenless. And when you think you got a young queen running around, less is more. I could pour through that thing and find her, and then come back mark a lid saying I saw a queen there. Come back in 2 weeks and she'd be long gone. So here's a young queen. Not laying yet, but she is sticking her head down cells, rubbing her abdomen all over those cells, telling those bees, it's time to get to work, get something ready for me, I want to lay some eggs. So she's still walking around sticking her head in every cell. That sends a message to those bees that it's time to get serious. Probably somehow that head motion creates a bit of scent marking on those cells. Of leftover cells from a previous year. Okay, so these ones, boy, what did we see? I mean, probably the same thing is happening on both sides. This is these hooks sure look nice. Boy, once they get their queens going, they're going to be fabulous little units. Make me a few boxes of honey this summer and have queens ready for me next spring. I'm really quite pleased with where my bees sit overall. Eggs galore. Not quite so easy on this side. This one, look, there's I would say a natural cell there that probably got chewed down by a competitor. Hopefully the queen I put in. I'm not sure what to say about that one. I feel like there's a queen there, but I didn't see her. This one's good. Okay, on this side, no sign of eggs. I'm inclined to think that's probably got a young one too. I'm going to skip that. So what I'm learning here is that I'm just a bit ahead of myself. Even though by the calendar these cells say they should be ready to go. And you know, in a way, guys should probably, Manitoba beekeeper should probably remember that queen that's mated already and breed from her. She's obviously got a slightly more Canadian attitude towards cold, miserable weather. Maybe you have to think about adding stubborn mating to my list of characteristics I'm evaluating. I'm not sure how to measure that, but it's worth thinking about. Right now I don't really... Oh, there's my girl right there. Let's get her up to the camera here. You see her right here? Little short and stubby. Wings out. Wings look okay. And she's just kind of hanging out. She's not polishing up any cells or anything. She's just in her teenage years. I would guess probably mated, but only quite recently. Hard to say. Okay, so that is a VQ on both sides. Last one in this batch. Oh, here's a gap. So this is the last of the 11s. For whatever reason, this is a 12, I guess. So that's 1 day later here. All of these should be, are more than the 14 days we would need to be mated if the weather was suitable on the right days. But 7-8 days ago, we had sort of extra blast of cold weather. It was sunny days, but it was not warm. I don't think that one's ready either. Cell clearly hatched properly. Well, I feel at this point really I'm only doing this to satisfy my own curiosity and encourage my bees to carry their queens. So I should probably quit while I'm ahead here and come back and, well, tomorrow is supposed to be a heck of a nice day. Ones that have been waiting for good weather should mate tomorrow. The ones that caught it sometime last week, a couple more days they'll be starting to lay. So if you give it 3 or 4 days, I try not to be in my queen yards in the middle of the day on a day when they're going to mate, because you don't want to be disrupting their flight paths as the queens are coming back home and stuff. So this is an evening and early morning situation for these nukes. Which one did we see the young one in? Oh, for crying out loud. I was talking instead of paying attention. It was this one. Alright, so what did we learn? Super gentle, not during the day. Patience is a virtue. Mother Nature, when the birds are singing, the queens will fly, and if it's too cold and miserable, you can't expect much. So that's it for today, folks. Have a great day.